Hi, I'm Euge Valovirta, and this one is about how to use a chorus pedal. I'm gonna use my favorite chorus pedal, which is Bass Chorus Ensemble CE5. It's not any better or worse than any other chorus pedal, it's just my favorite. And I'm gonna use the same settings. So there's a picture whenever the chorus is on and off. The settings are, everything is basically between 1 and 2 o'clock. If I'll tweak the settings, I'll let you know where I set them. The guitar is a ESP Mirage Deluxe from '87, I believe, with shallow Lockmeister, FU tone stuff, EVH drop tuner, EMG81, EMG SA, single coil in the neck, 3-way pickup switch, gain boost, which I'm not gonna use, single volume. Then it's in the pedal board, and I'm gonna use the chorus and bass SD1. From the pedal board, the signal goes to KHG Audio Electronics amp switcher. From KHG, it goes to 3 amps I'm gonna use. ADA MP1 into Marshall JCM800 203 Zakk Wylde signature heads power amp. So signal from the ADA, which is a preamp, goes to the effect loop return of the Marshall, so it acts as a power amp. I'm gonna use the clean solid state channel from ADA. Then I'm gonna use Peavey 5150 block letter from '92 and Marshall JCM800 203, aka the bad boy, from 1984. Alright, I'm gonna use a bass SD1 with both these amps and the chorus on and off. From KHG, the amps are connected to this. The speaker out comes back here. It goes to Fryette power station, where I'm attenuating the signal a bit. Then the signal goes to my Marshall vintage cabinet, where I have Marshall vintage speakers and Celestion V30s. This time I'm miking a Celestion V30 with Shure SM57 and SC Electronics VR1 ribbon mic. Those two mics are summed there in another room where the cabinets are, with Radial's 2-to-1 summing mixer. Then the cable from the Radial 2-to-1 goes to my Universal Audio Apollo X8 audio interface, and I'm using API Unison preamp in there. And then into Logic, and that's it. So the first section, the pedal will be in front of the amp. So all you hear, it's always in front. Then, after I'm done with that, I'm gonna put it to the effect loop of the Fryette, so you'll hear how it sounds in the effect loop of these amps. Well, the old Marshalls doesn't have an effect loop, but this is the way to make them have an effect loop. And I don't need to switch between all the amps' effect loop, but since it's in Fryette Power Station's effect loop, you know, it's much easier. Okay, but first, no chorus, the ADA clean sound. I'm gonna switch it on and off, and the settings are what's in the picture, so you'll hear what it does. Neck pickup. So the clean sound was just fine without, it was a little bit dull, but the chorus gives it this lush, more lively sound, which I really like with cleans. Pretty much always when I'm playing a clean or little bit semi-dirty. I have the chorus on because it just, I like what it does to the sound. Like I said, it makes it, to me, more alive and more lusher, which I think is a bonus. Okay, then let's switch into Peavey 5150, bridge pickup EMG81, bass SD1 in front. The settings are there. No chorus this time, then I kick in the chorus. So here what it does. The settings are the same. Like you heard, it made it more lusher, but I think with distortion it's a bit too much, so I'm gonna back the level from 2 o'clock to noon. Now when I backed the level so the chorus isn't so prominent, I think it works a bit better. I don't usually or never use chorus live or on the way in when I'm recording, but many times I add chorus for the reason you heard what it did to the sound. It made it a bit more alive, and when it's distortion involved, at least this chorus, it adds kind of some bite, some air to the sound. It becomes a little bit more like present in a good way. It's very subtle, but I'll do this adding chorus always afterwards in the mix and on a separate effect track, which is a stereo track, so it also widens the guitars, because usually when you record, or at least in my case, it's always left and right and panned hard, and then the chorus makes it a little bit. But it's so subtle that you basically hear it when I take it off, like in this case. Now there's chorus. But you don't necessarily think that, oh, he has a chorus on, but when I take it off, small thing. Some people I know, like my friend, rest in peace, Alexi Laiho. Alexi had at least he had periods where he had chorus always on in front of the amp, just mildly like that. Okay, and then let's use JCM800 with SD. So hear what it does with that, because it acts a little bit differently with different amps. So I'm gonna play the same riffs first without the chorus, then I'll kick it in and out. And the setting is now 2 o'clock. was a bit more audible now because Marshall has more of that upper mid bite, so I think the chorus really grabs on that. So let's back the level again to noon from 2 o'clock. So it's a bit more audible and adds to me, at least here, a bit more that top sizzle, because 800 has a bit more of that upper mid bite, like Marshall's in general, than a 5150. And now, while we're at it, let me compare them side by side. So first the 800 with SD1 and chorus, then the 5150 with SD1 and chorus. Like that. Okay, now let's use the Marshall without super overdrive and my clean sound like live, because I use Blue Guitar's AMP1 Iridium on the classic channel, but I've set it like JCM800. It's on the side of the side of the stage, so I'm not doing any channel switching or anything. I have one good sound, then I do everything with my hand, with the volume control and with the stepping on and off the SD. So first let's have the SD off, then I'm gonna do my clean sound. And then I'm gonna add the chorus. And now I'm gonna put the level back to 2 o'clock. Like that. I don't need multi-channel amps when I'm pretty much for anything, because I and probably you can do so much with overdrive pedal, chorus pedal, most importantly your hands and the volume control of the guitar And if you happen to have a low output single coil, it makes it even more easier switching to that when you're doing cleans. So those were the differences between a clean, a semi-clean and overdriven amp and the chorus being in front of the amp. Now, like I said in the beginning, I'm gonna put it to the effect loop of the Fryette so you'll hear how it sounds in the effect loop of an amp. Alright, so now the chorus is in the effect loop of a Fryette power station, and I can control the loop on and off with a foot switch. So whenever the green light is there, the loop is on. Now it's off. So and now since it's in the loop, the effect of the chorus is much more subtle. So now the settings are: level is cranked, it's maxed, all the others are like they were. And let's play the same simple clean arpeggio with the 80A and the 800 as a power amp first. Like you hear, it's really subtle when it's in the effect loop on a clean amp, clean sound. Let's do these kind of sus type of chords. Now it's without. Again, it widens it nicely, but its level is cranked, so it's more subtle. Then 5150 with the SD1, nothing now. And with the overdrive, like you heard here, it's again more subtle, even though the level is cranked, but since it's after the preamp, after the gain stages, before the power amp, it's more subtle, the effect. Let's check out the same thing with the Marshall JCM800, so no chorus now. it just widens it a little bit. And no, this is not the way Zakk Wylde uses it, even though someone might think. I've done a video how he uses it, but I'm gonna go through it on this one too. So he uses it in front, but it goes into two heads, because that chorus ensemble or whatever chorus Zakk uses, stereo chorus. So the chorus is the last pedal in front of the amp, before the amp. Alright, so now the signal chain in this Zakk Wylde way of using a chorus. Guitar, the guitar goes to my pedal board where I have super overdrive on, real super overdrive. From the pedal board, the signal goes to the input of the chorus ensemble, and then two outs from the chorus ensemble goes to the two high Z inputs of my audio interface, and then on those two channels I have soft tubes Marshall JCM800. There's no overdrive, nothing, because I'm having them, so to turn off the, yeah, that was off, so no overdrive here, virtual, just the amp and two cabinets, mic with SM57 and in this case Royer 121 ribbon mic. But the SC Electronics ribbon I used with the real gear, it's pretty much like that. I actually prefer that a bit more than the Royer, because anyways. And so both of them, these are set exactly the same. Just the amp without anything. If I bypass the chorus, bypass the SD, it's your basic 800. Then if I add the SD, and listen now when I add the chorus. So what happens? Let's mute the left amp. Now it's the chorus. Now it's not chorus. So the output A, whatever amp you put into the output A, it will get the chorus signal. Because if we change back, if we change to the amp B, that is from output B, chorus, no chorus now, chorus on, nothing happens. So the amp that is connected to output B, in this case a virtual amp, that's not gonna change. That will always be the sound. And the reason it makes the sound so wide, because the amp A will get a chorus, and as you probably know, or if you don't know now, you know, chorus is basically a delay. So it shortens it delays the signal just tiny bit, that we humans, we don't hear delay, we just hear it wider, and then the delayed signal is emulated. So again, if I unmute this, pan both to the sides, no chorus. When I step on the chorus, and if you listen very carefully, there is a tiny bit of... Pay attention. If you're listening with headphones, if you're listening with phone or laptop, this doesn't make any difference. Headphones are good monitors. Pay attention to the right and left side, like how they come up. So now that we know that there's a delay, we can actually kind of hear it, and I can kind of feel it, almost like a latency. And this is how Zakk Wylde uses a stereo delay. So he's just emulating live what he did in the studio by recording two separate left and right takes. And this will give you that, well, emulation of that. I did this too because we had a Ozzy Osbourne tribute band called Crazy Train, and I did this. I used these two amps. These are old ones. That's my old touring rig. Mine is the KHE and the Power Station. And then I had two cabinets, sometimes two full stacks, but I was only using the bottom two cabinets. So the amp that was connected to A got the chorus signal. The amp that was connected to B, which usually was the little brother, which usually was the bad boy, got the unchorused signal. So the bad boy was the main, and then the little brother was my chorus amp. But I only used this setup when we did the Ozzy shows, because it's pretty cool, but I kind of like a mono sound more, especially in CYHRA and in Suburban Tribe, where we had two guitar players. In God's Plague, I was the only guitar player, but most shows I just used one amp and then one was spare. But occasionally, you know, because I had this always on my board, occasionally I connected two amps into two cabinets and then chorus always on, so you have a wide sound. And now, when we kick off the SD and roll down the volume, we got a pretty cool clean sound. Now it's off. Yes, you lose a little bit of low end with the chorus pedal, but that doesn't matter because you have a bass player in the band, you know, because without a chorus it's really woof. Then is it widens so much, so the center, you don't kind of have the center, which means that the low end isn't as, but anyway, it sounds good. Hey, hopefully you found this interesting and informative. If you have any more questions, please write them to the section below. I try to answer them, or if I don't have time, I'm pretty much always reading them, and pretty much always I get the ideas for these videos based on your comments and questions. And this was one that has been requested a lot, like how to use chorus, where do I use it? Do I use it in front, in loop, or do I use it in two amps? I use it in front in one amp, but I have used it back in the day into two amps. I don't remember if I've ever used it in the loop, because like you heard, it's quite subtle. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you found this interesting and informative. Until next time, take care. Bye.